Okay, we are going to start looking at dichotomous keys. We are going to learn how to read dichotomous keys, and then you are going to try making your own dichotomous key or biological keys. Dichotomous keys and biological keys, those words are used interchangeably, so get used to that. What we want to do here, I have a very simple dichotomous key here. I'm going to use that as an example. And then the main purpose of this video is to help review with you guys some of the things that we learned all the way back in the first quarter. And so a lot of things that we've been learning all year long are going to be coming together in this unit. And so it'll be fun to kind of dig back and see all of the things that you remember. Okay, so let's take a look so you get an idea on what a dichotomous key is like. You have this worksheet. It was sent home with you, and you can certainly fill it out with me if you would like. This is a very simplified dichotomous key using leaves. So what we want to do is when you start reading a dichotomous key, you always start with step 1. And as you can see that there are steps here, and each step is divided into 2 choices, A and B. And then those choices will lead you to either go to a new step, or it'll tell you what kind of species you have picked up on. When we get to more advanced dichotomous keys, it'll go all the way from kingdoms all the way down to species. All right, so let's just take a look and try to read this one. So I'm going to look up here, and we're going to try to classify or figure out the names of these different leaves up here. So we're going to start with this leaf here, A. And again, when you're reading a dichotomous key, you always start with the first step. So let's take a look here. Step number 1 asks, is this leaf oval-shaped or star-shaped? Well, this leaf is oval-shaped. So now I'm going to go to step 2. Step 2 gives me a choice. Is this leaf shorter and wide or longer and narrow? Well, this leaf A is shorter and wide. So I'm going to go to step 4. Down here at step 4, it asks 4 veins or 5 veins. Well, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 4 veins on this. So this one, A, is going to be birch. Now let's do B. B, we start again with step 1. Is this leaf oval-shaped or star-shaped? Well, this is oval-shaped, so we'll go to step 2. This is again shorter and wide, so we're going to go to step 4 again. But this leaf has 5 veins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 veins. So this is going to be beech. Our next example is C. Starting with step 1 again, as you can see, this leaf is not oval-shaped, it is star-shaped. So this time we're going to go to step 3. Step 3 asks, does this leaf have smooth edges or does this leaf have jagged edges? Well, C has smooth edges around, so that is going to now tell us that this is the sweet gum. And then D, we can tell by the shape of D it is oval shaped, so I'm going to go to step 2, and that this one is longer and narrow, making it a hickory. And E is going to be star-shaped, again, starting at number 1. So I'm going to go to step 3. This one has jagged edges, as you can see around here. So this is going to make this one the sugar maple. Okay, again, this is a simplified dichotomous key. And before we can get to some of the more advanced ones, we need to go back and review some things. All right, one of the things we need to review is the kingdoms of life. I sent this document home in your animal kingdom folders. If you remember, we studied the kingdoms of life, and there's a bacteria kingdom, and oftentimes they are now separated into eubacteria and archaebacteria. The main difference here is, as you can see, everything is similar here except for location. So eubacteria live everywhere, and archaebacteria live in very extreme environments, really cold, really hot. And that's what differentiates eubacteria from archaebacteria. And then you're going to have to kind of take a look at this to review what we learned about protista, fungi, plants, and animal kingdoms. So you have this sheet with you, so please study that and make sure that you are up to date and remember the differences between the different kingdoms. Okay. The other thing you're going to need to remember, this was from an activity. We were going to do this in class, but we don't have class like we used to. So I just sent this answer key home with you. I would have asked you to be able to take these pictures and put them in the right kingdoms. So you should be able to do that. Maybe quiz yourself on this to make sure that you understand which organisms belong in which kingdom. Okay. This sheet I also sent home with you. As you can see here, this is a pyramid of classification. And if you remember going down, starting with a kingdom, as you can see, it starts out extremely broad. Here we go from, this is kingdom Animalia, and we have a bear all the way down to a starfish. So it's very broad as we start out with the kingdoms. And as we move down from kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species, and as you may remember, we learned that a little acronym to help you with that is King Philip cried out for goodness sake. As you move down all the way to the species, you can see it gets more and more specific. All right, and that's definitely something you're going to want to remember. As we start with the kingdoms, it's very broad, moving all the way down to this species and eliminating species to get to the name that we're actually looking for. All right, once we get to the species, a big question is, what defines a species? Well, once you get this specific, you're talking about organisms that will only reproduce with each other. Okay? Now, you might, like for example, you wouldn't put a tiger and an elephant in the same species because they cannot reproduce. We don't have any tylophants, right? So those would definitely be in different species. Well, you might ask, what about the tiger and the lions? Well, they can, on a rare occasion, tigers and lions can reproduce. They are in the same genus, but they are not in the same species. So occasionally, organisms in different species can reproduce, but it is not normal. And if they do, like tigers and lions, their offspring will be infertile and not able to reproduce. So when we get specific down to the species, we're talking about a group of organisms that can only reproduce normally with the same species. All right, a few other things that we need to remember from first quarter before we can really start reading the more advanced keys are some vocabulary words. So let's see here. Autotrophs, hopefully you remember, autotrophs are organisms that can make their own food. All plants are autotrophs because all plants undergo photosynthesis. Heterotrophs are organisms like us who cannot make their own food, so they are consumers. Another difference you're going to need to know is the difference between a eukaryotic organism and a prokaryotic organism. So eukaryotic means multi or many, can be multicellular or can be unicellular, uni meaning one-celled. What really distinguishes eukaryotics from prokaryotics is that the eukaryotics have a nucleus and they have membrane-bound organelles that are more complex, where prokaryotics are unicellular, meaning only one cell, and they don't have a nucleus. Okay, producers and consumers. Basically, producers are your autotrophs. So all plants are going to be producers, and consumers are your heterotrophs. There might be some other vocabulary as you get to these keys that you don't understand, and if that's the case, or if you are not sure about certain traits of organisms, you can do research on those, and you might need to on some of them. But these vocabulary words here are going to be extremely important to help you get through the more advanced keys that we will be reading. So I feel that you should know these because we went over them extensively, but it has been a while. So definitely good to refresh our brains on it. All right, so that is basically it for the review that I want you guys to know before we really jump into reading the dichotomous keys. So we're going to end here on the review part, and then I will come back and we will learn how to differentiate other keys. We'll learn how to put our own key together, and it'll be fun. I think you guys will enjoy it.